The Warframe 1999 demo just released, and it reveals quite some interesting details about the next big update at the end of the year. So, in today's video, we're going to take a look at what exactly the demo tells us about the upcoming Warframe 1999. Big shout out to Warframe's Quest to Conquer Cancer, donate for the good cause via the link in the description, and with that being said, let's jump right into it. Alright, so the Warframe 1999 demo. First things first, what even is it and how do you access it? Well, about how to get into it, it's actually pretty simple. You see this new console in the orbiter right here, and you can simply interact with it, which then starts the demo level. That is really everything you need to know. As for what you play in the demo, it's a straightforward extermination mission with enemies in the level range around 50, and you also cannot bring your own loadout. You're gonna play as Arthur with the AX-52 rifle and a preset loadout. And by the way, in case you want to know more about the AX-52 rifle, I already have a full guide on that. You can check it out later. But now, what do we see when we get into the mission? First and foremost, what I want to say here is that the graphics are really outstanding. Like, we have some AAA volumetric lighting here, we have some nice shadows and fog effects. It's really cool. The visual team has really outdone themselves on this one again. And I think we can all agree that Warframe has never looked more 2024 than it does here in, well, 1999. But it's not just the visuals, it's the whole presentation, the background music, the general soundscape, and the very fitting background noises of a city under siege. But of course, graphics are all nice and well. What I want to talk about though now is the Atomic Cycle, which is like the big elephant in the room, because we've seen it in the trailers, it looked awesome, now we can finally get our hands on it ourselves. So let's go over what this thing is, how it handles, and what it can do. Now, about the Atomic Cycle, I have a lot of thoughts. Most of them are relatively positive, but there is also a bit of criticism, and we're gonna get into that right now. This bike, from its handling, from the driving physics, feels actually really good. Like, you feel like you're driving a some 100-kilogram heavy bike with high speed through narrow streets in a city. The feeling of mass, the feeling of weight and speed, that is really expertly crafted here, and even this fast 180 turn that you can perform by pressing the crouch button feels believable and realistic, so big compliments for that. However, one thing I didn't really like is how the control scheme itself works. Because unlike any other computer game out there that features bikes, the controls here are a little bit weird, and I would certainly not complain if they would review it once more before the release. See, in most games it's fairly straightforward. You press W to drive forward, you press S to brake or maybe slowly go backwards when you're already standing, and then you use A and D to turn left and right. However, usually what we have is that the A and D key only turns you left or right if you're actually driving, so if you do it while standing, nothing happens. With the Atomic Cycle though, WASD drives you in all four directions, so it's kind of a bit like riding a cave in Duviri. Like, it's a bit difficult to explain, but you can all play it for yourself and I think you'll see what I mean. I would personally just prefer it if the controls were more in line with what we're used to in other video games. But alright, rant over. Let's now talk about the cool things that this thing can do that no other video game can, and that would be, for example, you can jump with it, and that looks pretty awesome. Also, the bike has two skills, one being a turbo boost on top of the normal shift turbo boost, and the second one is an AoE attack where you jump off the bike, it continues shooting forward, and on impact it creates an explosion, dealing damage to enemies. I personally found this to be a bit finicky, but it surely looks pretty awesome. Oh yeah, and just by the way, you can also summon this bike from your inventory wheel, just like the K-Drive and the Arcwing and all the other vehicles. But yeah, so much about our cool new mode of transportation, the Atomic Cycle. I think all in all it's a great concept and it feels already pretty good in how it handles, just that I would personally like it if they maybe take another look at how it steers left and right. But now with the vehicles out of the way, let's talk a bit about the on-foot combat, because this was actually pretty surprising to me. First things first, in general, even though we're not playing as Excalibur here, but as Arthur, the main gameplay loop in and of itself is exactly the same that we know and love from standard Warframe. You run around the same, you slide, roll, bullet jump, all that is unchanged compared to vanilla Warframe. What I want to talk about though for a minute is the equipment that we get in this mission, because apart from the AX-52 that we already know and already got for ourselves at the TennoCon, this demo also reveals another weapon, and that being the silenced Vesper 77 pistol, which was the big surprise for me in this demo. See, of course the loadout that we have here is pre-built, so there will be some mods on the equipment, but we don't see which exactly these are. They don't seem to be all that strong though, because, you know, the enemies are level 50-ish and it takes half a magazine of the AX-52 to take care of one of them, so everything I'm about to say, take it with a little grain of salt. So, the AX-52 did around 200 damage per hit in this demo. However, the Vesper pistol did up to 16,000 on a headshot crit, and in comparison to the AX-52, this is really big. Like, don't get me wrong, it might just be that in this demo they made the pistol much stronger than the actual rifle, but in case they upgraded both of them equally, then holy moly, I could imagine this little silenced pistol to be an absolute doombringer once we get it in our own hands and can upgrade it ourselves. I mean, you can also see it in the background. I pretty much played the entire demo just with the pistol, and it feels awesome. As for the enemies that we're fighting, we have a couple of variations. Most of them we've already seen them in the trailers, but there's this enemy type with the two blades that run straight towards you, and these are actually pretty interesting because from their behavior, to me, they seem like they tried something new in the enemy design there, where it almost feels like the moment you're about to shoot at them, they're just gonna dash to the side out of the way, and it's a really nice and unexpected challenge for the player, I would say, you know, compared to the Warframe standard AI that just runs straight towards you in a line to be picked off. I would actually like to see more of these dynamic enemies in the future in general, but unfortunately in this demo we didn't get to play against any boss type enemy just yet, so we're probably gonna have to wait till the full Warframe 99 release this winter. And finally, before we wrap it up for today, I also want to talk a little bit about the world, you know, the city that we're actually play in here. This tileset to me looks really promising and really good. Here's what I mean. See, when we saw the trailers at TennoCon, everybody was sort of silently agreeing that this is probably going to be another open world because, you know, big Warframe updates have this tendency to introduce new open worlds now and then. But from playing the demo right now and looking at the map, it looks like it's actually not an open world, but rather a new tileset that puts those rooms in a random order every single time. Now, should that be the case, then some of you might be disappointed, but I personally think that the actual strength of Warframe has always been the procedural generation and not so much the open world gameplay design. Like, don't get me wrong, open worlds in Warframe are all nice and well, but I just feel that the standard mission design of Warframe fits so much better in the procedural tilesets and not so much in the open world maps. As for what's so special about this tileset, to me personally, it just feels like it's really big. Like, one room here is not a small, narrow Grenier Galleon room. One room here is an entire city block with multiple buildings that we can jump onto, that we can move in between. Maybe there's also a tunnel here and there. There are vehicles on the road, cover. There's, in general, a lot of verticality here, a lot of geometry that we can use in our combat to our advantage, that we can play around. And all in all, to me, it feels like those bigger, more open tile sets that give us more room to express ourselves, if you want to call it that. They just work so well together with the quick Warframe movement, with all the responsiveness, with all the carnage and the speed. Like, I really had a good time playing this Exterminate mission on the tileset, and I can't wait to see what they're going for with 1999, how it will feel to play the final update, and this demo has done a great job because I am even more pumped now to play it than I was before. But what do you think about the demo? Have you played it already? And what's your personal verdict? Let me know in the comments down below. And in case you haven't already, then make sure to also check out my guide on the brand new Warframe Kome right here. Another big shout out to Quest to Conquer Cancer, donate via the link in the description. We see each other, hopefully in the next one, and until then, as always, good loot.